Hello everybody, Pyro here. Before I start this video off, let me just say thank you to all of you who decided to even watch my video. It really does mean a lot to me. This is my first ever review made to celebrate me getting 50 subscribers on the channel, though I'm pretty late to that party by now, if I do say so myself. It's probably not going to be the best thing you've ever seen, considering there are so many other talented reviews out there, but I've tried my best, and I feel really proud of what I've accomplished here. Any feedback on the video after watching it would be greatly appreciated, in the form of a comment, like if you've enjoyed it, a dislike if you didn't, or even a subscription if you really liked the video. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the video.
It's such a boring day today. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. If only there was something to alleviate the boredom. Whoa! A super convenient pile of GameCube games! Let's see what we have here. No. Too rare. Ain't got friends. Too good. Pile of shit. Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure. People consistently say that this is one of the worst GameCube games ever made, but surely it can't be FIFA levels of bad, right? Right? Let's find out.
Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure was an early GameCube game being released on December 7th, 2001 in Japan, December 18th in America, and May 2002 in Europe, serving as a launch game in Europe. It seems that anyone who's played this game has only bad things to say about it, and perhaps rightly so. However, as a person who lives and breathes a Nintendo GameCube, perhaps my opinion will be influenced a little by my obsession with the purple cube, so keep that in mind. Anyway, no more wasting time, let's get this shit on the road. Starting off, the intro cutscene is ugly as sin, with very few decent looking parts to it. My personal highlight is the shitty dinosaur, which looks like a very polished and good looking N64 model, not a fucking GameCube one. And if you want to make the excuse that it's an early GameCube game and that's why the graphics are so subpar, well, I call bullshit on that argument, because Luigi's Mansion, which came out before Universal in the USA and Japan, and released at the same time in Europe, looked bloody fantastic. And the other GameCube launch titles, such as Super Monkey Ball or Wave Race Blue Storm, looked great as well. And the rest of the game's graphics don't hold up either. See, if a person/object isn't a few feet away from the camera, they're blurred to all hell, with their faces unrecognizable. Oh yes, I almost forgot to talk about the game's story. Story. When your character, who you pick out of a selection of 6, enters Universal Studios, he/she is told by Woody Woodpecker that it's having a stamp collection contest, and that he/she can gain stamps by playing attractions, and then basically tells you to fuck off. That's it. Sure, it's a game by Universal Studios, so it doesn't need a strong story per se, but it still would have been welcome nonetheless. Now, it's finally time to talk about a part of Universal's gameplay. Walking around the park, picking up trash. Or at least that's what everyone else will tell you. Indeed, the game features quite a bit of shit to collect and put in weirdly sparse bins for points. More on how those are used later. However, it's not very often that it's necessary to progress the game. You'll instead get a large chunk of your points by walking into and finding letters that spell out Universal Studios. Collecting them all is, in my opinion, not particularly worth it, though you do get a stamp for it, but even so, when picked up, they give very reasonable amounts of points, 100 compared to the 10 per piece of trash. It also helps that early game before you unlock the ability for trash to spawn by talking to a random guy. I'm being serious. The letters are really easy to spot, as there is nothing else on the ground to mistake them with. Another good way to get points is to shake Universal's mascot hand, whether it's Wolfman, Knothole, or other weirdos in costumes. Doing so will give you a whopping 1000 points, which is handy as all fuck. The only problem with this is that the mascots appear randomly. I don't know if they have to be triggered by someone, like the trash does, but I think it's entirely random where they are. Oh yes, when you give one of the mascots a handshake, the controller rumbles. How exhilarating. Okay then, let's address another of the game's problems, the boredom. And by that, I mean the hub that you're in when you aren't doing an attraction. Your character moves as if he/she is walking through mud with 3 broken legs. You can buy some items from Mori at the park entrance that speed you up for points. Now don't get me wrong, the one item I did eventually buy was great. It was a perfectly respectable speed boost. The only problem is that your points are much better spent elsewhere. Details in just a second. The camera is bloody ridiculous. It's fixed in a certain position and only moves when you enter a new screen. This in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but the angles it's at are wildly inconsistent. Sometimes they're adequate, but sometimes they're in positions that have your character placed at the very back of the screen, often making you crawl over to the foreground without even knowing where your character is for a few seconds. You can unlock a map that uses the X button. Problem is, it's quite easily missable, and even when you get it, it only shows your general position on the map, and doesn't show which direction you're facing either. Then again, with the fucked up camera, I doubt it'd be of much help. Finally, after 4.5 minutes, it's time to talk about the meat of the game, the main attraction, if you will. The attractions. There's 6 main ones in the game, with that number increasing depending on what you consider an attraction. Anyway, to start an attraction minigame, first you need to buy a hat. Yes, a hat, which is basically this game's version of a fast pass, allowing you access on the ride no matter how many people are in line for it. It works for us. You need to buy the hats for points, which is why I discouraged buying the speed boosting item earlier, which limits your playtime on them. However, what I see few reviews of this game mention is the fact that you get to go on any attraction once free of charge, which is quite nice. Fun fact, being the attraction gives you points as well, which I consider to be the de facto best way to get them, as you get them in clumps of hundreds, and if you play well enough, thousands. One last thing, you can buy an e-pass at the store for 1,000 points from Woody, but considering the hats that give unlimited access are rarely more than 2.5 times more expensive than it, it's almost always more convenient to just buy a hat. Though once a guy gave me one for free, which is nice enough. Just a little disclaimer, during my recording sessions I think I went totally insane because I attempted to get red stamps in all the attractions, which you get for playing exceptionally well at them. As such, I'll mention my trials and tribulations of getting those. Got that? Let's go then. First up, it's Jaws. The shark at the beginning looks menacing enough, so that's a plus already. In this game, you're on a boat trying to locate Jaws with a radar and throw some random shit at him. The radar reminds me of the one in the hub area thing. The direction you're facing isn't shown, which makes aiming properly really hard. Also, you can get properly fucked by RNG. If the game decides to load a barrel rocket in your movement path, you're basically guaranteed to fuck up and lose a bit of your ship. Which, if you're going for the red stamp, you can't do once. If Jaws takes out even one bit of your ship, you can't red stamp the game. Here, I play perfectly up until the end, where I mess up, and Jaws takes a bit out of the boat, and I don't get the red stamp out at the end. Absolute cock-strangling bullshit. The worst is yet to come though. Next, E.T. Adventure. Yes, there's a minigame based off of E.T. I can already hear your screams of despair, but frankly, this game is surprisingly playable. You ride a bike with E.T. trying to get to a spaceship thing in time. On the way there, you must avoid obstacles and jump off of ramps, although landing properly off of them is kind of hard. This game is notable in my eyes for being extremely lenient with its scoring, more so than any other attraction on this game. On my first run, I did okay. Nowhere near perfectly, for sure, but as I got hit a few times and failed my ramp landings, but I still got a red stamp. And after the half-hour marathon that was Jaws, that level of mercy is very much appreciated. Now for a game I nicknamed Racing Game number 78435, aka Back to the Future, The Ride. In it, Biff has stolen the DeLorean. Somehow. So you, a random kid, take another DeLorean to try and catch him. Makes perfect sense to me, I don't know about you. To catch him, you need to ram your DeLorean into his, and the task takes a fucking eternity. Especially if you suck at racing games, e.g. like me. Along the way you go from a city to a frozen mountain, I assume, to a fucking volcano. Couldn't Biff run away to a beach or something to save us both the bother of going to death-defying environments? The red stamp for this game took ages, no near as Jaws though, but that was sort of mitigated by the fact that this game is surprisingly satisfying when you master it and can drive through it almost perfectly. Let's move swiftly on to Backdraft, which is easily my favourite of these games, and also the most complete, in my opinion. You play as a fireman who gets into a flaming building, though towards the end it starts resembling like a factory more than a normal building, to save people who are trapped inside. You have 15 minutes to do so, which is really lenient, in my opinion, battling fires with your fire hose and occasionally fire extinguishers you find as power-ups. That act as, well, fire extinguishers. aka they deal with fires very well. This game is really fun because it encourages explorations of its rooms, and then rewards that exploration with health and fire extinguishers. Now, I'm not sure if this is a positive, per se, but dousing the fires is really satisfying, like unnaturally so. Though this game isn't without its flaws, it's quite long, about as much so as the next game we'll talk about here, which is a real problem if you're going for the red stamp. Some traps are quite cheap, being borderline unavoidable unless you've played the game before. Despite this, the red stamp was honestly quite fair, and I got it after 2 goes, dying on my first one. So the game doesn't overstay its welcome. If only the same could be said for the next game. Jurassic Park. What does that name mean to you? It probably reminds you of the movie series, which I'm told so anyway. It's fucking excellent. Perhaps you think of some kind of merchandise or ride related to it. As for me, it makes me shake in fear, break down in a cold sweat, and it makes me contemplate my very existence as a human being. No, seriously. It's that bad. The game in question is simply called Jurassic Park. It features you in a car with a gun of some kind, with a driver lady beside you. There's this lock-on system in the game, but it's only good in any capacity when there's like, maybe 1 or 2 enemies on the screen at a time, which virtually never happens. In every single other situation, rapidly mashing the fire button is superior in every single way, barring accuracy. I'll explain why this is such a problem in just a bit. The game starts off with the T-Rex on your ass, though a few potshots at him will scare him off. Next, you have the quick time event section, but it's easily the least annoying part of the game. You just have to hold a single button as it's shown on screen with a very generous amount of time given beforehand. After a short while, you start seeing some velociraptors. Not many at first, perfectly manageable, even with the shitty lock-on system. Then you get to shoot at some triceratops for a little while. They aren't aggressive, but it's still nearly impossible to kill more than one of these things per run. After that's over, the true bullshit starts to creep in. A fuck ton of velociraptors start closing in on you, and you need to shoot fast, much faster than the auto aim allows anyway. You should also try to hit the crowd of inactive velociraptors, because doing so will kill them in one hit, and therefore prevent them from aggroing on you later. And will also net you some good pointage. This is probably when your car will start taking damage. Take too much and you will die and have to start all over again. Even if you don't die from the damage, too much of it will cripple your chance at the red stamp, which in and of itself is a crippling experience. Just when you think you're out of the shit creek, when the velociraptors stop spawning, nope, back to hell with you, because here come the pterodons. There's less of them in terms of sheer numbers, but members of the group go for you all at once, and your lock-on is even more unreliable here. This all means that your shields are probably going to get crushed, and so will potential points from killing the pterodons, which once again puts your red stamp in severe danger. After three screens of that bullcrap, it's back to the velociraptors again. Only this section goes on much longer than the one just prior, meaning your odds of getting hit increase exponentially. Later, after another breathing in the form of a QuickTime event, never thought I'd say that, you arrive in some kind of Asian-Chinese looking town, and get chased by more velociraptors. Are you seeing a pattern here? This section is split into 2 by another bonus section, like the Triceratops one. Only difference being there's very few Stegosauruses here, and after a good few playthroughs of the game, well, 4 or 5, I haven't been able to kill a single one of them. If you miraculously survive that onslaught, you get to move on to the final boss of this game, the T-Rex from the beginning. He takes fucking ages to attack you, so you might as well use a lock-on thing to get some cheap hits on him as well as some points. Then, when he gets close, a text bubble saying weak point appears. For my first few playthroughs, I thought this was simply the game saying that I could hurt him then, or something like that, meaning that he was vulnerable. I shot a max speed at him then, but nothing happened. He just hit me for massive damage each time. Turns out what actually happens is a part of the T-Rex's body becomes really weak to bullets for some reason, and if you hit him enough, you stop him from attacking you, which is essential for the red stamp. Once you beat him, the game is over, and your points are tied up. Very, very slowly. It's so painful to watch, and you have to watch them every time you try for the red stamp again, which drains the life out of you quicker than a fucking vampire. It's finally time to talk about said red stamp. Sorry if it seems that I'm ranting, and that's because I am, but I really need to get this out of my system and show you guys just how bullshit this is, okay? Now let's get on with this. I played through this game 4 fucking times to get the stamp. 4. Sure, it seems kind of small compared to the times I sort of Jaws and Back to the Future, but they were both really quick games, like a few minutes long each. So as that, if I saw I did something wrong in them, I knew I could restart, as it wouldn't lose me too much progress. Here, I played through the entire game, which is as long, if not more so, than Backlash, but being nowhere near as fun. I have an hour's worth of footage to prove what I'm saying is true. Another point I have to make is that I had to literally mash the shoot button constantly for said hour, which meant I was physically exhausted at the end of it all, especially my thumb. Though after I did it, I felt like I was a fucking badass of the highest caliber. Righty, I've gone way too long with this. Let's end this shit. The last, at least for my playthrough, minigame in the game was Wild Wild West. It's a simple shooting gallery type game, meaning you compete with someone to shoot as many targets as possible. Simple enough. You play against some mildly threatening looking people, hoping to earn more points than them. The sights move way too quickly for my liking, which makes aiming at the smaller bonus targets, cans, balloons, and actual bonus targets, etc., a bit of a pain, though it is eased a little by the ammo system. Your gun can hold 6 bullets, and when they run out, all you need to do to reload them is press A, meaning you can basically rapid fire if the need arises. The red stamp wasn't particularly taxing to get, especially after the hell that Jurassic Park gave me. The missing a bonus target is basically a death sentence for a high score. Okay, now it's time to talk about the semi-attractions. First, Waterworld. You can get in for free, which is nice, but it's got an entrance similar to the more conventional attractions. However, all it turns out to be is the option to pick your seat from the left and far left, right and far right, and dead center. Then watching the climax of the movie, I presume anyway, where some ship lands in the water and makes a splash. Now, to give credit where credit is due, the scene itself is serviceable. The water effects look decent by early GameCube standards. Shame the rest of the audience is cocked and deserted. Maybe no one wanted to get lost trying to find this place. As for the other minigame, well, it's worse than Jurassic Park. Yes, I said that. No joke. At least managed to finish Jurassic Park. At least Jurassic Park took some skill. This one's absolute horseshit to the umpteenth degree. It's a movie quiz. Sounds innocent enough, right? It's located near the main hub of the game, so it's easy to find. But the quiz itself, it's brutal. Way too much so. I haven't watched many, if any, Universal films, but some of the fucking questions seem fucking ridiculous to me. Just asking for specific dates and months and shit. Just a note, this game is rated 3+. How any 3-year-old is meant to get this shit right is beyond me. The only way you could possibly get any, and then want a red stamp on this thing, is if you've hunted a few thousand lucky rabbits and amputated their feet, drunk about 10 gallons of 4-leaf clover extract, wore a suit made of horseshoes, and been blessed by some leprechaun god or something, or if Universal movies are likely an insanely huge part of your life. Like, if you watch a Universal movie every 2 hours or something. I tried looking up a guide to this shit on the internet and found one, but it was severely lacking. And I didn't feel like making one from my own experience. Though, really, will any of you blame me? Like, at all? I know we're at the very end, and this really isn't a review per se, but I feel like this must be said. I think I may be the first person ever to discover this whole thing. Probably because no one plays the game for more than like an hour. My story goes like this. I just rest stamped the Wild Wild West, and I decided to have myself a little walk around the park. No clue why, don't question it. I went to the Waterworld attraction, perhaps captured footage for that thing, and found a woman who asked me if I found a cell phone anywhere. This piqued my curiosity enough to look for it. I found it near the hub area, at which point the girl, who had another phone, I guess, called me and asked me to meet her at the Jurassic Park attraction with it. Well, that was a bit of a fuck-up. As you saw, she said to meet her at the Waterworld entrance instead. Which I did, and then she said to go to the Jurassic Park entrance. That's all I wanted to add, carry on. So, that I did. But as I entered the area, I got a call from her, telling me that she had to change the meeting spot to the west. She didn't specify the area was the Wild Wild West attraction she meant, so that led me running around the west area of the park looking for her. It only occurred to me what she meant after a good half hour. And guess what the reward was at the end? Go on, guess. 1,000 points and a shitty tip. Which was useless to me as I got it after beating all the attractions. And I knew about that tip beforehand. Still, every cloud has a silver lining. I got the last Universal letter on my quest to find a lady, so I got a free stamp which I wasn't even going to get. Well, here we are. The last bit of the review, where I give my overall thoughts on the game. So, get ready, because I actually kind of enjoyed this game. No joke. Maybe it's my love for the purple cube shining through or something, but this game is quite enjoyable to me. Well, not all of it. Jurassic Park was an absolute nightmare. Most of the red stamps weren't worth the effort to get them. Plenty of the minigames weren't the greatest. Still, the rank for points mechanic wasn't that big of a problem to me, as the minigames gave out very reasonable points themselves. Backlash was a genuinely great game, and I enjoyed the likes of E.T. and Wild Wild West as well. The map is confusing as hell, but with a bit of patience, you'll get anywhere you want to. In the end. Maybe. Anyway, with all that said, my score for this game is a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching up until this point, and thank you to all 57 of my current subscribers for sticking with me on this magical journey called YouTubing. You guys make it all worthwhile. As for the review type things, well, don't get your hopes up. This thing has been in production from May, though I really started working on this thing in early July. I then stopped for a while and then started picking it up back in very, very late August and early September. And I'm bloody exhausted from all this. Which is absolutely great, because the day after I finish this is the first day of the school year. Guess I deserve it for not making this thing sooner. Anyway, thank you all for the support you've shown me, and I hope you all stick by me on my quest for 100 subscribers, which will probably never happen, but oh well. But until then, Paramedic 8 here, signing out. Ta-ra.